Hello and welcome to iTim number 12. I'm your host Tim Sarley, and today we're here with real estate guru Mark Royster. How are you, Mark?
Very well, thanks, Tim.
Mark is from Pillar Real Estate Advocacy Services, and I wanted to interview Mark because of his extensive knowledge he has around real estate investing over the past 23 years. So before we get into it, Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you touched on, Tim, I've been in real estate for 23 years. I started in '93 and worked through to 2016. In that time, I also wrote 3 books on the subject of property investing.
Yep.
2 of those, I'm proud to say, have been on the Amazon bestseller list.
Right.
And I'm a really keen investor. I love real estate and investing, and I'm in the top 1% of property investors in Australia. And as you touched on, I just recently started the Pillar Real Estate Advocacy Service.
Yeah, right. Okay. So what does advocacy service mean? What does it do? What do you actually do for people?
Well, the traditional real estate advocates help buyers secure properties.
Yep.
So the services can range from everything from finding a suitable property right through to negotiating the purchase of that property and buying that property. Or the service can be tailored to suit the client. So it could just be that the buyer has already found a home that they love, but they just want a hand negotiating the purchase of that property to ensure they're not overpaying for the property.
Yep.
Or they might have found a property which is going to auction. And a lot of people are nervous when it comes to attending auctions,
Yeah,
and so they could engage an advocate to represent them and to bid for them at the auction.
Yeah, right.
So the service can be tailored to suit.
Yeah, excellent. And so for the last 23 years, you've been working for the sellers,
Yes.
and now it's flipped on the other side. You're now working for the buyers.
Yeah, I love it. Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's I'm based here in Shepparton, so primarily working out of Shepparton.
Yep.
And there was simply a hole. There's a need for it here. There's no other buyers advocates in Shepparton or the Goulburn Valley area. There's plenty of estate agents. There's I think 14 or 15 estate agents running around in Shepparton, but there's certainly no buyers advocates. So
Yep.
first of all, I thought that there was a gap in the marketplace, but as you said, I've been representing or working for the seller in the past. It's great to be on the other side of the transaction, and I love helping the buyers. I love the negotiation. So I love pitting my skills against the skills of an estate agent that's representing the seller. And it's that part of it in particular which I really love. And it's a game of chess. I've been doing it for a long time. I think I'm okay at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love getting the result for the buyers. It's there's nothing more satisfying than securing the home and helping someone get their dream result.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's very good. Now, just touching back, you said you've written some books. What made you What made you think that you could write a book, or one, let alone 3? You've got 3 now that you've got out there.
Yeah, I've got 3 books.
So how did that come about?
Well, I need to really take you back to the start of it. I guess what happened was some time ago, I came up with an idea. I've always loved real estate. Absolutely love real estate, and love property investing. And I wanted to get involved in property investing, but I didn't want to pay top dollar for an investment property. And I guess I was like a lot of buyers out there. I wanted to secure a great property in a great location, but I didn't want to just pay market value. I'm an estate agent, and I can do my due diligence, and I can determine what is a fair market value for a property. But I wanted to make sure I was buying great properties at a discounted price.
Right.
So I struck upon this idea of buying properties in bulk. And the idea is a very simple one, and it's no different from buying cans of Coke. You can buy a can of Coke for $2, or you can go to the supermarket and buy a 6-pack, and you get them for $1 a can. So if you buy in bulk, you tend to save money. And that same philosophy can be applied exactly the same to real estate. So I struck upon this idea of forming a buying group, a syndicate, and it was made up with my brother and 3 of my very closest best mates from school, who I've known for most of my life. And we formed a syndicate, and I went off and we found properties, and we had a few trial and errors. We tried to buy properties around Melbourne without any success, but we did persevere, and we finally struck success, and I bought properties in bulk at Cheltenham. Right, and we saved a lot of money by doing it that way. We actually bought one property more than what we required, so we flipped that property and we made a profit on that property straight away. And the system worked very, very well. So anyway, I'm making a long story out of this. I wanted to write down my experiences from forming that first buying group, because there was a lot of trials and errors.
Yeah,
a lot of things went right.
So it was a diary sort
A
of
lot of things went wrong. So
Yeah.
it was really just a journal. It was
Yeah.
it was my memoirs, if you like. So I wrote it down and committed it all to paper, and then my wife saw it and read it and thought that it was a pretty interesting reader.
Yeah.
And
She
and
has
so
to say that though, you know.
well, she has to. She's biased, so that's right. So I wanted an impartial opinion.
Yeah.
So I sent it off to a publishing house, and they got back in touch with me and said it was a good story. It was interesting
Yeah.
and different perspective. It was a warts and all story of exactly how I did it, what went wrong, as I mentioned, how we secured the finance, the tenants, everything, right from the start to the end. And so anyway, that's how the first book got published.
What was that book called?
How to Buy Unlimited Investment Properties.
Right. Okay. Yep.
And then I know
Who named it?
it's imaginative, isn't it? I named it. I like really long titles.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that book, but then the second book was it's a sequel to the first one, I guess, because
Yeah.
what you find with property investors is that the vast majority of property investors, I think it's something like 73.7% of property investors own one investment
Bought one
property.
and haven't stopped there.
That's it. They've bought one, and I think that what happens is that property investors buy a property,
Yep.
they give it to a rental manager to look after,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets taken care of, and it's someone else is managing the day-to-day affairs of the property, and investors frankly just forget about it.
Yeah.
They sit on their investment property, years go by, and then one day when they get closer to retiring, they then think about their investment property,
Yeah.
realise how much it's gone up in value, and then think, well, why didn't we buy 6 or
Right.
7 of these?
Yeah, yeah.
Why didn't we go and buy more? Because it was a really easy investment. It's a bit of a no-brainer. So the sequel was how to turn an investment property, how to turn one into a portfolio,
Yeah.
how to afford that, to pay for that, how it gets geared, and how you can turn an investment portfolio into a passive income,
Yeah.
and how you can make an income directly from your portfolio, a passive income, and retire and just enjoy your lifestyle.
Yeah. What's that book called?
So that one's how to buy unlimited properties and retire in 10 years.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I like really long titles.
Yeah. Cool.
And the third one's just been released, so that was just a recent one. It was aimed a little bit more at real estate agents, but
Yeah.
when I gave it to the publishers, they actually thought that it had a wider audience than that.
Yeah.
But the good thing about the third one is that all the profits which are raised from that book actually go to the Fred Hollows Foundation, which is a fantastic foundation, and
Yeah.
I was just able recently to give them a donation. So,
Yeah. Okay.
so that's been going.
So
really
that's
well.
that's a bit of a passion of yours, or
Yeah, I love it. Yeah,
close
look,
to
I
heart?
really love real
Yeah.
estate, as I mentioned.
Oh, sorry, I'm
and-
talking about the Fred
and-
Hollows Foundation.
Yeah, look, they're a fantastic not-for-profit organisation. They
Yeah.
do some great work here in Australia and 25 countries around the world.
Mhm.
And the Fred Hollows stories are very well known, but
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic story, the way it all started, and it's a very, very worthwhile organisation.
Yeah.
But unlike some other organisations, it probably doesn't have the high profile that some other organisations have it.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be a great thing to support them.
Yeah.
You know, I really like the Jane McGrath Day
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I love cricket,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we've supported that in the past. But
Yeah.
they've got a whole day around their fundraising events, and they make lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
So they've got the profile. I
Yeah.
thought Fred Hollows doesn't perhaps have as high a profile as some other organisations. So
Yeah. Great.
I thought it was a worthwhile charity to support.
Great. Yep. Now, give us. I'm just mindful of time, just before we wrap up. But give us some of your tips around if you're looking to buy an investment property or real estate investing. What's some of your major tips that you've
Yep.
got?
Well, the first thing is you've got to do lots of due diligence.
Yeah.
You have to research. There's no such thing as being over prepared or having too much information. So you need to define an area that you want to buy a property in, whether it's a home for yourself to live in or an
Yep.
investment property. You must have a defined area, and then within that area, you have to know every house or property that sells in that
Inside out,
area.
yep.
And the estate agents that you're going to be negotiating against, they've already got that knowledge. Okay, so you need to get yourself up to a place where you've got a really sound knowledge base of that area and
Yeah.
the prices, and so that you can confidently look at a property and say, well, this is a fair market price for this particular home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really the number one tip, because if you've done that, and if you've done the research, and if you're prepared, once you get in front of the agent, once you start negotiating,
Yep.
the negotiation is going to be a lot better, a lot easier. You're going to be a lot more confident, and you're going to more likely than not end up, with a pleasing result at the end of it.
Yeah.
So the number one tip really is just research.
Yeah, very good. And do you have to, what about if you're starting out? How can you make that first step? As other than the banks are not giving out much money these days.
Yep. There's a lot of media about that, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah. So what's the first step? How do you get your money together? And I know it's very hard to get a deposit now when the houses are $500,000.
Yep. Yeah, look, it's a good question because you're right, with the Royal Commission that's happened recently, the banks have been tightening up, but I've been speaking with a lot of brokers in Melbourne actually just recently, and they've said that already the pendulum is starting to swing back towards the buyers. So I think there was a bit of an overcorrection after the Royal Commission, but now it's the monetary policy is already starting to ease a little bit. For new players in the game, for new buyers, really the spot to start is to go to your bank manager and to get an idea of what sort of borrowing capacity you've got, and they'll give you some advice as to what you as the buyer needs to do. So whether you need to be saving a little bit more, whether you need to be working in the same position for a little bit longer, whether you need to be collecting pay slips or whatever the case might be. But the other thing to bear in mind is that there's a big difference between the way that the banks look at a homeowner and an investor. So a homeowner is obviously borrowing money, which for the property that they want to buy, but they're servicing it solely out of their salary.
Right. Yeah.
So it comes down to their affordability and what they can manage and what they can repay.
Yeah.
When you're an investor, you take into account the borrower's capacity, so their income, but you're also taking into account the rental income. So there's a secondary form. And so the banks look at them as very, very different transactions. So for anyone starting, have an idea of what you're doing first of all, whether you're buying a home to live in or as an investor, because the conversation will go from there.
Yeah, right. And the banks will give you more money from them.
Oh, definitely. If you're an investor, you can borrow a lot more money.
Yeah, great. Okay. So just before we wrap up, where can people buy your books?
The books are available on Amazon, Smashwords, Barnes and Noble. A lot of e-book companies.
Yes.
So if they Google it, they'll find the books, or they can just Google me and they'll find all the links.
Yep.
And there are links from my website, so Pillar Real Estate Advocacy Service.
Yep.
So they can find them online.
Okay. Yeah. And if anybody wants your services, they can get it from the website.
Yeah, they can get it from the website. They can find me on Facebook. I've got other accounts apparently on social media now, but. You know what? I'm a bit old-fashioned. They can just call me.
You just like to talk to people.
I actually like to talk to people.
Yeah.
I don't mind talking. So, you know what? If they've got any questions or they want to get in touch with me, the easiest way is just to give me a call, and my phone number is on the website as well.
Yeah. So if you're newly fashioned and you like to message somebody, you can send me a message and let me know your phone number and contact details, and I'll get Mark to give you a call.
Yeah, cool.
If you can't find his phone number. Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody. I hope you got a lot out of this one. Mark, it's been excellent talking to you. You've got a lot of experience and a lot of value to add to people, and it's been great having you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Right.
Thanks.
See you next week, guys.